The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will meet the mad scientist Baxter Stockman and his Mousers. What's up everyone, James here, and we are back continuing our coverage of the original Ninja Turtles. Make sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't seen my first video on the Turtles meeting and battling the Shredder for the first time, check out the link right here, or below the like button, or at the end of this video. I've actually had this video and other TMNT video scripts done for a while, so there will be more to come. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So this begins with the Ninja Turtles and Master Splinter watching the news. The reporter is interviewing Dr. Baxter Stockman, covering a report on his latest invention, the Mousers. Stockman's assistant is April O'Neil, which may surprise some of you who are not entirely familiar with TMNT because you've probably commonly seen her depicted as a news reporter and journalist. In the Mirage universe, she is a highly skilled computer programmer. Stockman demonstrates on the news broadcast how quickly his Mousers can track down and kill rats. We see the Mouser find the rat and straight up swallow it. Baxter mentions it can swallow up to 5 average-sized rats, which is crazy. He reveals on the news broadcast that his invention was funded by the city, so they could get rid of their rat infestation once and for all. Splinter warns the Turtles to be more cautious when roaming the sewers. Several weeks go by, and in those weeks, the Mousers are taking out the rat problem in New York. But at the same time, the city is experiencing a string of bizarre bank robberies. The police can't figure out how the bank vaults were tunneled into because the tunnels are so small that only a small child could fit through them. April, watching the news report of this, brings this up to Stockman, who tries to come across as disinterested. She quickly deduces that the Mousers are capable of creating tunnels that size. Stockman immediately tries to dismiss her theory by asking how could they since she's the one who programmed them. However, April points out that someone could have grabbed a couple of them and reprogrammed them. Stockman assures her that they're the only ones who have full control of the Mousers. This is where he slips off the mask. He takes April to a secret underground level of his laboratory and reveals to her an army of Mousers he's created, which shocks April because the city only gave them enough funding for 24 of them. She asks Stockman where he got the money to create the army he has here. And to no surprise, Stockman reveals he's the one behind the recent string of robberies. He tells April he's already stolen over $900,000. Like the classic 80s villain Stockman is, he tells April his entire evil plan, which is to hold the city ransom. How he plans to do this is by having his Mousers weaken the foundations of large important financial buildings, and if the city refuses to pay, he'll have his Mousers bring those buildings down. What I like about Baxter Stockman as a TMNT villain, he is truly the embodiment of the classic mustache twirling villain that's a mad scientist. And he actually has a mustache, which is pretty funny. It's actually one of the things I didn't like about the Mutant Mayhem film. I didn't like that they killed him off so quickly early on in the film. I mean, they could always bring him back. To further confirm that Stockman is the classic villain, April points out to Stockman he could have made millions legally with his invention, but Stockman reveals he doesn't care about the money. He's doing all this because it's fun to him. And he goes on to have his evil laugh. In my head, I imagined his laugh being like Mandark's laugh from Dexter's Laboratory. Now, April tries to make a run for it and inform the police about his plan, but Stockman traps her in the elevator and then drops her into the sewers. As she is traversing the sewers, Stockman, watching through his camera system, sends the Mousers after her. She makes a run for it, but eventually gets cornered by a group of them. Just when they're about to bite her to bits, suddenly the group of Mousers are bashed, sliced, and stabbed to pieces. Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael save April, and the shock of seeing mutant turtles causes her to pass out. Sometime later, April awakens to Master Splinter and the Turtles watching over her. Splinter assures her she is safe and introduces himself and his sons to her. They tell her their entire origin story and even their battle with the Shredder that took place in the last video. They then all come across a news broadcast reporting that the Rextab building has been threatened by a terrorist. The reporter in front of the building goes on to say that the terrorist delivered a ransom note with a videotape to City Hall. The news plays the tape, and Stockman comes across as a mysterious figure, not revealing his true identity. He tells the citizens of New York he plans on extorting a total of $1 billion from all the major businesses of New York. He intends to hold each one of their corporate headquarters hostage. If he isn't paid the ransom for each building he picks, then he'll demolish them. He shows a small model of the Rextab building and says at 3 p.m. today the building will fall, and tomorrow at 3 p.m. one of the World Trade Centers will fall, unless he is paid $20 million. Now initially the media doesn't take him seriously because the reporter points out it's 3:03 p.m. and the Rextab building is still standing. However, at that moment, the building suddenly collapses live on TV. April is distraught by Baxter's actions, and she and the Turtles team up determined to stop him. Later, as Stockman is enjoying the chaos and fear he's spread throughout the city, the Turtles and April successfully sneak into his laboratory. They catch him unaware and are able to apprehend him. April tries to figure out how to shut down the system, but Stockman manages to break free from the Turtles' grasp and activates the Mauser self-destruct program. He tells the Turtles that the program will have the Mausers eat everything in the laboratory. Raph ends up knocking him out, which is a thing Raph would definitely do. They try to escape using the elevator, but find it filled with rocks thanks to Stockman. Donatello comes up with a plan to cancel the destruct program while the rest of the Turtles hold off the encroaching Mausers using plastic explosives they found Baxter was holding onto. In the tunnel, after planting the explosives, they light them. When the Mausers begin to close in on the Turtles, they go to town on them until the explosives go off and the tunnel caves in. Make no mistake though, this didn't stop the Mausers. All the Turtles did was buy themselves some breathing room. As Donatello and April try various things to shut down the system, the Mausers eventually eat through the rubble. The Turtles begin beating them down, basically play whack-a-mole, or should I say whack-a-Mauser. The fighting gets even more intense while April and Donatello are still struggling to shut down the system. I love this badass image of Raphael, Michelangelo, and Leonardo surrounded by the Mausers fighting them off. The Turtles are eventually forced to retreat into the lab, but they're only safe for a short time. The Mausers begin eating through the walls of the lab. Leo, thinking that they're going to die, says, "Turtles, die with honor." At that moment, April and Donatello manage to activate the emergency shutdown program, ending Baxter Stockman's evil plans and the Mausers for good. Now, originally I was going to end the video here, but I figured I could quickly go over the following issue because it leads into a fun arc. So after April and the Turtles leave the lab, April tells the Turtles they should find another home because the cops and repair crews will be all over the tunnel soon. The Turtles agree and April gives them her phone number in case they ever need her. When they return home though, they find it ransacked and Master Splinter missing. They search all over and only come across smashed Mausers and blood. The Turtles freak out, but Leo reminds them that the cops will show up soon and right now they need to pack all their stuff and get out of there. Initially, Leo orders Donatello to go and search for Splinter while the rest of them pack, but Raph goes out on his own, going against his orders and leaves to search for Master Splinter. Sometime later, the Turtles make it out of the sewers and Raph returns to them. Leo yells at him for being hot-headed and running off. They call April for help and she picks them up. They inform her about Master Splinter missing. Now they all get into a bit of a crazy car chase involving the cops and some robbers, but we're not going to cover that in detail because it's not important. This is where the Ninja Turtles see April's place, which is an antique shop called Second Time Around. When Leo asks if anyone else lives here, April answers that her dad did until he had a stroke 6 months ago, and now he lives in a nursing home. The Turtles make plans to find Splinter after they eat and rest. As they sleep, April reminds herself and us as the readers that her life has flipped upside down in just the past 24 hours. She discovered her boss was a nutcase who tried to kill her and had the Mausers attack the city that she helped create, and she met mutant turtles and a mutant rat that could talk. From here we go to an epilogue, where we find Master Splinter wounded somewhere in the sewer. He recollects how he got here, and as we thought, the Mausers attacked him. While the Turtles and April were dealing with Baxter, Splinter was assaulted in their home by a group of Mausers. He managed to take out some of them, but lost his walking stick and katana in the process. Though he was going to town on them and successfully outmaneuvering them, one of them was still able to take a bite out of his leg. He tries to escape through the sewer tunnels, but falls and hits his head. Just when the Mausers have him dead to rights, they end up turning around and leaving thanks to the turtles in April. However, Splinter didn't know that and feared they would come back, so he threw himself into the sewer waters, and that's how he ended up where he currently is. He ends up being found by this pair of TCRI employees. At first, they planned on killing him, thinking he was a normal rat, until he speaks. Surprised to find a talking rat, they take him to the infirmary. Several hours go by, and Splinter wakes up in a medical bed. He leaves the room, and while he sneaks through the halls of the TCRI building, he hears voices coming from a nearby room. Splinter discovers that the humans that work at TCRI are actually small alien creatures. These are the Ultroms. This is the beginning of the arc where the turtles end up in space. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you want more Ninja Turtle action, comment below and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, have an awesome day, and always remember every day to cowabunga and go beyond.